The conference room on the 42nd floor felt colder than it should have. Victoria Chen stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching snow begin to fall over downtown Seattle, her reflection ghostly against the December twilight. Behind her, the acquisition documents lay unsigned on the marble table. Her assistant had left an hour ago. Everyone had left. It was Christmas Eve. She pressed her palm against the glass, feeling nothing. Victoria had built Chen Industries from a single patent into a tech empire worth $3 billion. She'd done it alone, deliberately, methodically. No partnerships that could fail, no dependencies that could break her. At 38, she had everything she'd worked for and nothing she hadn't planned for, which was exactly the problem. The city below twinkled with lights from windows where families gathered, and she felt the familiar tightness in her chest that she'd learned to ignore. Her phone buzzed. Another dinner invitation from her brother's family, the third one she'd declined this month. She set it face down without responding. The truth was simpler than loneliness, and harder to admit. She'd forgotten how to be a person instead of a position. Somewhere in the climb, she'd left behind the parts of herself that knew how to sit still, how to laugh at nothing, how to waste time. The realization didn't hurt anymore, it just was. She collected her coat and bag, leaving the documents for after the holiday. The elevator descended in silence. Across the city, in a neighborhood where the houses wore their age with dignity, Marcus Webb was losing a battle with Christmas lights. His daughter Lily, 6 years old and relentlessly optimistic, stood on the porch holding the tangled strand, like a referee waiting for him to admit defeat. "Dad, they're twisted again." "I can see that, sweetheart." Marcus sat back on his heels, snow soaking through his jeans. The house needed new gutters. The porch needed paint. The lights needed a miracle, but Lily had asked for the sparkly kind like at school, and he'd promised. He'd been promising a lot of things since Rachel left 2 years ago. Not died, left. Walked out the door one morning and sent divorce papers from California 3 weeks later. Lily asked about her sometimes, less now than before, and Marcus had learned to answer without letting his daughter see the wound. "Maybe we should try the other strand." Lily's breath made small clouds in the cold air. "Maybe we should get you inside before you freeze." "I'm not cold." She was shivering. Marcus smiled despite everything. 5 more minutes. Then hot chocolate, with the little marshmallows. Is there any other kind? He worked the knots with numb fingers, watching Lily twirl in the snow. She was resilient in a way that humbled him, adaptable in a way that broke his heart. She'd learned not to ask for much because she'd learned that much was more than he could always give. He worked 2 jobs, morning shifts at the hardware store, evening work doing freelance carpentry, and still came up short most months. But tonight was Christmas Eve, and the lights would work if he had to rewire them by hand. The section he'd just untangled flickered once, then died completely. Lily stopped twirling. "It's okay," Marcus said quickly. "Hug, I've got another idea." "It's okay if we don't have lights, Dad, I don't mind." That was the problem. She didn't mind. She'd learned not to mind too many things. "We're having lights," he said, more to himself than to her. "Go inside and warm up, I'll be right there." She hesitated, then nodded and went in. Through the window, he could see her watching him, small and trusting and totally dependent on a man who was doing his best and terrified it would never be enough. He got the lights working 20 minutes later through sheer stubbornness and electrical tape. They weren't beautiful, but they glowed. Lily pressed her face against the window and grinned, and that was enough. Inside, the house smelled like the cinnamon candles his mother had sent, trying to make up for the fact that she was in Phoenix and wouldn't make it back for the holiday. The tree stood in the corner, a Charlie Brown special Marcus had gotten for $15 at the lot's last day. Lily had decorated it with construction paper chains and optimism. "Hot chocolate," he called. "Yes, please." He made it the way his grandmother had taught him, with real cocoa and a pinch of salt, and brought 2 mugs to the couch where Lily had already burrowed under the blanket. She took hers carefully, serious with the responsibility. "Dad?" "Yeah, kiddo." "Are we going to church tomorrow?" "That's the plan." St. Anne's, right? The small Catholic church 3 blocks over, where they'd started going because Lily's friend Emma went, and Marcus figured she needed community, even if he'd stopped believing in much beyond getting through each day. "Emma says they have cookies after." "Then we're definitely going." Lily sipped her chocolate, leaving a marshmallow mustache. Emma's whole family goes. Her mum and dad and her grandma and her 2 aunts and her uncle. Marcus kept his voice steady. That sounds nice. Do you think Mum will call tomorrow? There it was, the question that came in different forms but always meant the same thing. Am I enough for you without her? I don't know, sweetheart, but I hope she does. And if she doesn't, we're still going to have the best Christmas, okay? Just you and me. Lily nodded against his shoulder. Just you and me is good. He kissed the top of her head, holding on a moment longer than necessary. The next morning arrived cold and bright. Marcus woke to Lily already dressed in her Christmas outfit, red velvet dress from the thrift store, white tights, black shoes she'd only worn twice. She'd even attempted to braid her own hair, one side significantly higher than the other. Ready for church? She asked, like she'd been waiting hours. Give me 10 minutes. He made it in 8, pulling on the one button-down shirt he owned that didn't have paint stains, and they walked to St. Anne's through neighborhood streets quiet with the holiday. Lily held his hand, chattering about nothing and everything, and Marcus tried to be present instead of calculating whether he could pick up extra shifts next week. The church was warm and crowded, smelling of pine and candle wax. They slid into a pew near the back, and Lily immediately spotted Emma 3 rows ahead. The 2 girls waved, and Emma's mother, Jennifer, who Marcus knew from school pickup, smiled back at them. The service was fine, traditional. Marcus stood and sat when everyone else did, let the rituals wash over him without resistance. Lily sang the carols with enthusiasm if not accuracy, and that was what mattered. Afterward, in the parish hall, someone had set out cookies and coffee. Lily made a beeline for Emma, and Marcus found himself holding a paper cup and trying to look less out of place than he felt. The other families clustered in groups, comfortable and connected, and he recognized the feeling creeping up his spine, the specific loneliness of being surrounded by people. Marcus, right? Jennifer appeared at his elbow. Emma's talked about Lily all week. Apparently they're planning to build a snow fort tomorrow. That sounds about right. Thanks for having her over last week. Anytime. She's a sweetheart. Jennifer paused. You doing okay? I know the holidays can be... We're good. Really. Thank you. She nodded, not pushing, and Marcus appreciated that. He was about to excuse himself when Lily ran up, Emma in tow. Dad, can Emma come see our lights? Kiddo, Emma probably has family plans. Actually, Jennifer said, we're pretty much done for the day. If it's okay with you, we could walk over for a few minutes. Which was how Marcus ended up leading a small parade back to his house, acutely aware of the peeling paint and the mismatched porch furniture. But Emma and Lily didn't notice, too busy chattering, and Jennifer was kind enough to pretend not to either. The lights are really pretty, Emma said, which was generous. Lily helped, Marcus said. I handed him things, Lily clarified proudly. They were standing in the yard, Jennifer making noises about needing to get going, when Marcus noticed someone across the street. A woman alone stopped on the sidewalk. She wore a long black coat that probably cost more than his truck, and she was staring at his house with an expression he couldn't quite read. Victoria had taken a wrong turn somewhere. She'd meant to drive to the office, there was always work, and work was safe, but instead found herself in a neighborhood she didn't recognize, watching a scene that felt like it belonged in someone else's life. A small house with crooked lights, 2 little girls laughing in the snow, a man who looked tired but happy talking to another mother. It was exactly the kind of moment she never let herself want, because wanting implied lacking, and she'd built her entire identity on needing nothing. But she'd stopped the car anyway, and now she was standing there like a stranger outside a window, and the tired-looking man had noticed her. Marcus saw the exact moment the woman realized she'd been caught staring. She straightened slightly, the way people do when they're about to walk away and pretend they were never there. He didn't know what made him do it. Maybe the holiday, maybe Lily's influence, maybe just the fact that the woman looked as lonely as he sometimes felt. But he raised his hand in a small wave. She froze. Lily, following his gaze, tilted her head. Then, before Marcus could stop her, she was running across the yard. Lily. But his daughter was already at the sidewalk, looking up at the stranger with the fearless curiosity of children who haven't learned that the world might be unsafe. Are you lost? Lily asked. Victoria looked down at the child, Dark hair in lopsided braids, red velvet dress, eyes that held no suspicion whatsoever, and felt something crack in her chest. "I might be," she heard herself say. "That's okay. Our GPS is bad too." Lily smiled. "Are you by yourself?" The question was innocent. The answer felt like an indictment. "Yes, on Christmas." Lily's face crumpled with concern. "That's sad." Marcus had reached them now, Jennifer hovering nearby with Emma. "Lily, you can't just run up to people." "But Dad, she's all alone on Christmas." Victoria met the man's eyes for the first time. He looked embarrassed and apologetic, a working man in clothes that had seen better days, with gentle eyes and strong hands, and the particular exhaustion of single parents everywhere. She should make an excuse. Leave. This wasn't her world. "I'm sorry," Marcus started. "She doesn't always think before—" "Come have Christmas with us, Mom," Lily said suddenly, urgently. "We have cookies, and Dad made hot chocolate, and our lights work now." The silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. Victoria opened her mouth to decline politely, to explain that she'd just been passing through, that she had somewhere to be. All the easy lies. Instead, she found herself looking at this child who'd crossed a yard to invite a stranger into her home, and at the father who clearly had nothing extra to give, but was already reaching out his hand in a gesture that was part greeting, part apology, part something else entirely. "I'm Marcus," he said quietly. "Marcus Webb, and this is Lily. You really don't have to—" "Victoria." Her voice sounded strange to her own ears. "Victoria Chen." Marcus's hand was still extended, rough palm, calloused fingers, completely steady despite the absurdity of the situation. She took it. His handshake was brief and warm, and when he let go, Lily had already grabbed Victoria's other hand and was tugging her toward the house. "I should—" Victoria started. "Please." Lily looked up at her. "It's Christmas. Nobody should be alone on Christmas." Jennifer was gathering Emma, making quiet excuses about getting home, shooting Marcus a look that was part amusement, part concern. He gave a small shrug that said, "I have no idea what's happening either." And then they were gone. And Victoria was being led up the porch steps by a 6-year-old with unshakable conviction. The inside of the house was small and warm, decorated with obvious care and limited budget. The furniture was worn but clean, the tree was sparse but genuine. Everything spoke of a life built from necessity and love in equal measure. "Sit there," Lily commanded, pointing to the couch. "I'll get the cookies." She disappeared into the kitchen, leaving Victoria and Marcus in the specific awkwardness of strangers thrown together by circumstance. "I really am sorry," Marcus said. She gets these ideas and she doesn't understand that people might not want—" "It's fine." Victoria sat, feeling out of place in a way that had nothing to do with the furniture. "I was actually just—" "What?" "Driving aimlessly on Christmas because she'd forgotten how to be human, staring at his house like a ghost at a window. Lost," she finished. Marcus nodded slowly. "Right. Well, can I get you something? Coffee? Lily's going to bring enough cookies to feed a small army, so—" "Hot chocolate," Victoria heard herself say. She mentioned hot chocolate. Something shifted in Marcus's expression, not quite a smile, but close. "Hot chocolate. Sure, I can do that." He disappeared into the kitchen, and Victoria sat alone in the living room of a complete stranger, surrounded by construction paper chains and the scent of cinnamon, and tried to remember the last time she'd done something this inexplicable. Lily returned with a plate of cookies, store-bought, arranged with care. "These are the good kind, with the red and green sprinkles." "Thank you." The child sat beside her, completely comfortable, swinging her legs. "Do you have kids?" "No." "Are you married?" "Lily," Marcus called from the kitchen, voice strained. "That's not polite to ask." "It's okay," Victoria said. "No, I'm not married." "Me neither," Lily said cheerfully. "I mean, Dad's not." "I'm too young, but Mom left, so it's just us now." The casual way she said it, "Mom left," hit harder than it should have. Victoria had spent years in boardrooms, negotiating billion-dollar deals without flinching, but this child's matter-of-fact loneliness nearly undid her. "That must be hard," she said quietly. Lily shrugged. "It's okay. Dad takes care of everything. He works really hard." Marcus returned with 2 mugs, handing one to Victoria. Their fingers brushed, and she noticed he had a small burn scar on his wrist, the kind that came from years of working with his hands. "Thank you." He sat in the chair across from them, clearly uncertain about the protocol for unexpected Christmas guests. Lily filled the silence with a stream of consciousness about school, about Emma, about the snow fort they were planning, and gradually, impossibly, the strangeness began to fade. Victoria sipped the hot chocolate. It was real, made with care, better than anything she'd had in years. "This is really good. Dad makes it special," Lily confided. "Say with the secret ingredient." "Salt," Marcus said. "Not very secret. But you have to use the right amount," Lily insisted. "Otherwise it's just regular." Victoria found herself almost smiling. "I see." They talked, or rather, Lily talked and Victoria listened, and Marcus interjected when his daughter's enthusiasm needed gentle redirection. It should have been unbearable. She didn't do small talk, didn't do domestic scenes, didn't do any of this. But sitting in this warm, modest house with these people who owed her nothing and offered everything anyway, Victoria felt something she hadn't felt in longer than she could remember. She felt like she could breathe. An hour passed, then another. Marcus told Lily to give their guest some space, but Victoria surprised herself by saying she didn't mind. They watched A Charlie Brown Christmas on a TV that was probably older than Lily, and when the little girl started to yawn, Marcus declared it bedtime. "But it's Christmas," Lily protested sleepily. "It's late Christmas," Marcus countered. "And Santa already came, remember?" Lily perked up slightly. "Can I show her my presents?" "I don't think I'd like to see," Victoria said, and meant it. So Lily dragged her to the tiny bedroom under the eaves, where 4 wrapped packages sat on the floor. 4. Victoria had overseen charitable donations worth millions, but somehow those 4 modest gifts, one still bearing a visible price tag of $7.99, felt more significant than any of it. "Dad got me art supplies," Lily whispered, like it was a secret, "and a new book, and clothes for school, and a stuffed penguin because I really wanted one. That sounds perfect. What did you get for Christmas?" The question was innocent. The answer was nothing. She hadn't thought to get herself anything, and there was no one else to do it. "I'm still deciding," Victoria lied gently. Lily yawned again, and Marcus appeared in the doorway. "All right, kiddo." Teeth brushed. "Pajamas on, say good night." "Good night, Miss Victoria. I'm really glad you weren't lost anymore." She hugged Victoria with the unself-conscious affection of children, and Victoria froze for a moment, before carefully, awkwardly, hugging her back. When was the last time someone had hugged her? When was the last time she'd let them? Lily released her and shuffled toward the bathroom, and Marcus gave Victoria an apologetic look. "I'll just get her settled. Make yourself comfortable." He disappeared, and Victoria stood in the narrow hallway, looking at the photographs on the wall. Marcus and Lily at a park. Lily as a baby, an older photo of Marcus with a woman who must have been Rachel, both of them young and happy and unaware of how the story would end. She heard Marcus reading to Lily, his voice low and warm, and felt like an intruder in someone else's life. She should leave. This was exactly the kind of entanglement she'd spent her adult life avoiding. But when Marcus came back downstairs, she was still there. "Sorry," he said. "She gets attached fast. I should have warned you." "It's fine." "Really?" Victoria paused. "I should probably go. I've taken up enough of your evening." Marcus looked at her for a moment, really looked, and she had the uncomfortable feeling he saw more than she wanted him to. "You don't have to." "I mean, if you don't have anywhere you need to be. I was just going to have some coffee and pretend to understand the instructions for Lily's art set." It was an exit, a polite, easy exit. She could thank him, wish him well, and return to her apartment where everything was controlled and nothing was complicated. "Coffee sounds good," she heard herself say. They sat at the kitchen table, scarred wood, mismatched chairs, a jelly stain from breakfast, and Marcus poured coffee from a pot that had seen better days. Outside, snow continued to fall, muffling the world. "So," Marcus said carefully, "were you really lost?" Victoria wrapped her hands around the mug. "Yes, no, I don't know. I was driving and I ended up here. That's pretty lost." I think I've been lost for a while, she said, surprising herself with the honesty. I just didn't notice. Marcus nodded slowly. I get that. They sat in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Outside, somewhere, a dog barked. A car passed, headlights sweeping across the wall. The refrigerator hummed. Can I ask you something? Marcus said finally. You don't have to answer. Okay. When Lily ran up to you on the street, you looked like you might cry, or run. I couldn't tell which. Victoria stared into her coffee. Both, maybe. Why didn't you? I don't know. She asked me if I was lost, and I realized I was... And then she invited me to Christmas like it was the simplest thing in the world, and I couldn't remember the last time anyone... She stopped, shook her head. This is going to sound ridiculous. Try me. I couldn't remember the last time anyone just wanted me there. Not Victoria Chen, CEO, not the woman who could sign their contract or fund their project. Just me. Marcus was quiet for a moment. That doesn't sound ridiculous. That sounds really lonely. I built it that way, on purpose. I thought it would protect me. Did it? Victoria laughed, but there was no humor in it. I'm spending Christmas with strangers because I drove around aimlessly until I found a house that looked like it might have what I was missing. So no, it didn't protect me from anything except connection. Well, Marcus said, and there was something gentle in his voice. For what it's worth, you're not a stranger anymore. You're the lady who made Lily's entire Christmas by showing up and staying. I didn't do anything. You stayed. That's not nothing. Victoria looked at him then, really looked. Tired eyes, rough hands, clothes that had been washed 100 times, and an expression that held no judgment whatsoever. Just kindness, just recognition. Why are you being nice to me? She asked quietly. Marcus smiled, and it changed his whole face. Lily's not the only one who thinks nobody should be alone on Christmas. They talked until nearly midnight. Not about business or strategy or any of the things Victoria usually discussed. About small things, ordinary things. Marcus told her about his work, about the clients who thought they could install their own electrical and called him to fix it, about Lily's obsession with penguins. Victoria found herself telling him about growing up with immigrant parents who'd sacrificed everything, about building her company from nothing, about the moment she'd realized she'd achieved every goal and felt emptier than when she'd started. Do you regret it? Marcus asked. The success? No. I regret everything I gave up to get it. I thought I was being strong. Turns out I was just scared. Of what? Of this? She gestured around the kitchen. Of needing people, of them leaving, of being disappointed. And look at you now, Marcus said, sitting in a stranger's kitchen, having survived approximately 3 hours of domesticity. Victoria actually laughed. It's terrifying. Yeah, well, welcome to the human race. We're all terrified. Eventually, she stood to leave. Marcus walked her to the door, and on the porch, under the crooked Christmas lights, she turned back. Thank you for letting me stay. Thank you for staying, Marcus said. Lily's going to talk about this for weeks. The fancy lady who came to Christmas. I'm not that fancy. Your coat costs more than my car. That's not a high bar, she shot back, and he laughed. They stood there, snow falling around them, and Victoria felt something shift. Not love. It was too soon for that, too fragile, but possibility. The terrifying, exhilarating possibility of letting someone in. Can I... she started, then stopped. Would it be weird if I asked to see you again, both of you? Marcus's expression softened. That wouldn't be weird. That would be nice. I don't really know how to do this. The normal people thing. Neither do I. We'll figure it out as we go. She nodded, suddenly shy in a way she hadn't been since she was Lily's age. Okay. Good. Good. Victoria walked to her car, aware of Marcus watching from the porch. When she reached the street, she looked back. He raised his hand, the same small wave from hours earlier, and she returned it. She drove home through silent streets, but the silence felt different now, less empty, less permanent. The next morning, Victoria woke to her phone buzzing. A text from an unknown number. Lily wants to know if you like penguins. Also, this is Marcus, Merry Christmas. She smiled and typed back, I do now. Merry Christmas. Over the following weeks, she returned to that house more times than she could justify, bringing gifts she tried to make seem casual. Art supplies for Lily, tools for Marcus, groceries that just happened to fit their needs. Marcus protested at first, but she learned to frame it differently. Not charity, not obligation, just someone who wanted to be part of something. Lily accepted her with the easy grace of children, dragging her into games and crafts and elaborate stories. Marcus was more cautious, more aware of the gap between their worlds, but gradually he relaxed. One evening in January, after Lily had gone to bed, Victoria and Marcus sat in the living room with the TV on mute, just talking. "Can I ask you something?" Victoria said. "Sure. Why did you let me in that day, really? You didn't know me." "I could have been anyone," Marcus considered. "Honestly, because Lily saw something I missed. She saw someone who needed what we had, and I figured, we don't have much, but we have enough to share. That's what my grandmother always said. There's always enough if you're willing to share it. Your grandmother was a wise woman. She was. She also would have loved you, which is probably why I'm going to do something really stupid right now." Victoria's heart started beating faster. "What's that?" Marcus turned to face her fully. "I like you, not because of what you've done for us, though that's been generous. I like you because you stayed even when it was uncomfortable, because you let Lily teach you how to make snow angels, even though you were wearing designer boots, because you laugh at my terrible jokes and you don't pretend to be someone you're not. And I know this is complicated, and our lives don't exactly match up, but I like you too," Victoria interrupted. "I've been trying not to. I've been telling myself this is temporary, that I should keep my distance, but I can't, I don't want to. So what do we do?" "I think," Victoria said slowly, "we take it one day at a time. We figure it out as we go, just like you said." Marcus smiled. "I can work with that." He reached for her hand, and she let him take it. They sat like that for a long time, not needing to fill the silence with words. The relationship grew in quiet increments. Victoria learned to be patient with Lily's endless questions. Marcus learned to let Victoria help without seeing it as failure. They navigated the complications, the stares when they went out together, the assumptions people made, the very real differences in their daily lives, with honesty and humor. One Saturday in February, Victoria took them to her house for the first time. Lily walked through the penthouse with wide eyes, touching nothing, and Victoria saw her home the way the child must see it, beautiful, impressive, and utterly sterile. "It's like a museum," Lily whispered. "Is that good or bad?" Victoria asked. "I don't know. Can you play here?" "I never have. But maybe that should change." They ordered pizza and ate it on the balcony, 42 floors up. Lily bundled in one of Victoria's cashmere throws and pointing out landmarks. Marcus stood beside Victoria, their shoulders touching. "This is your world," he said quietly. "It was," she corrected. "I'm trying to build a different one. It's a nice view. The view from your porch is better." He looked at her, surprised, and she meant it. The view from his porch was Lily playing in the yard, neighbors waving, life happening in real time. This was just height. In March, Victoria did something she'd never done. She took a day off, not for a vacation or a conference, just to be with them. They went to the zoo, and Lily dragged them to the penguin exhibit 3 separate times, narrating facts she'd learned with complete confidence in her 6-year-old expertise. Marcus bought them all overpriced hot dogs, and they sat on a bench watching the sea lions. Lily ran ahead to get a better view, and Marcus turned to Victoria. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For being here, for trying. I know this isn't easy for you." "It's the easiest thing I've ever done," Victoria said. "Everything else, the company, the deals, the success, that took effort. This just takes showing up. That's the hardest part, though, showing up, being vulnerable." She leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling the solid warmth of him. "Then I'm glad I'm learning from an expert." They kissed for the first time that evening, after they'd dropped Lily off at Emma's for a sleepover. Standing in Marcus's living room under those crooked Christmas lights he'd never taken down, Victoria felt nervous and alive and absolutely terrified. "Is this okay?" Marcus asked, his hand gentle on her face. "Yes, more than okay." When they broke apart, she was smiling, and he was smiling, and nothing had ever felt more right. The months that followed weren't perfect. They argued about money, about boundaries, about how to blend their very different lives. Victoria struggled with letting go of control. Marcus struggled with accepting help. But they kept showing up. They kept trying. In June, Lily asked Victoria if she was her dad's girlfriend, and Victoria looked at Marcus uncertain. "What do you think?" he asked his daughter. Lily considered seriously. "I think yes, because she's here all the time, and you smile more, and she taught me about spreadsheets." "I taught you very basic addition," Victoria protested. "In spreadsheet form," Lily insisted. "So is she." Marcus looked at Victoria, asking a different question with his eyes. "Yes," Victoria said, "if that's okay with you." "It's very okay with me," Lily announced. "Can we have cake to celebrate?" They had cake. It was store-bought and overly sweet, and Victoria had never tasted anything better. By summer, they'd fallen into a rhythm. Victoria kept her apartment but spent most weekends at Marcus's house. She learned to cook simple meals, though Marcus was still better at it. She learned to braid hair, though never as well as he could. She learned to slow down, to waste time, to find value in moments that had no productivity metric. Marcus learned to accept her generosity without shame. When she wanted to pay for Lily's summer camp, he let her. When she wanted to fix the porch, he let her. Not because he needed rescuing, but because that's what people who loved each other did. They helped. They shared. One evening in late August, they sat on the porch, newly repaired, freshly painted, watching Lily catch fireflies in the yard. "I've been thinking," Victoria said. "A dangerous habit." She elbowed him gently. "I want to cut back at work, not quit, but delegate more. Spend more time here. With you both." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "You sure? Your company is important, I know, but it's not everything. I thought it was, for a long time." And then a 6-year-old invited me to Christmas, and her father held out his hand, and I realized I'd been building the wrong thing. "What had you been building?" "A fortress. I needed a home." Marcus took her hand, lacing their fingers together. "You have one, if you want it." "I want it," she said. I really want it." Lily ran up, jar full of fireflies, breathless and happy. "Look how many I caught." "That's amazing, sweetheart," Marcus said. "Now let them go so they can get home to their families." Lily carefully unscrewed the lid, and they watched the fireflies drift away, tiny lights in the darkness. "Miss Victoria," Lily asked, "are you going to stay forever?" Victoria looked at Marcus, then at this child who'd changed everything. "I'm going to try. Is that okay?" "That's very okay." They sat together as the summer evening faded. 3 people who'd found each other by accident and stayed on purpose. And Victoria felt something she'd spent years running from. She felt home. The Christmas lights were still up when September arrived. Marcus kept saying he'd take them down, but he never did. And Victoria stopped asking him to. They'd become part of the house, those crooked, imperfect lights, a reminder of where it all started. One night, Lily already asleep upstairs, Victoria and Marcus sat in the living room planning nothing in particular. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked. "That day, stopping here." Victoria thought about the woman she'd been, standing on a sidewalk, staring at a life she thought she couldn't have. "No. Best wrong turn I ever made." It wasn't wrong. It was exactly right. She leaned into him, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. Yeah, it really was. Outside, the first leaves were starting to fall, and somewhere in the distance a dog barked. Ordinary sounds, regular life, everything she'd been missing. "Come have Christmas with us, Mom," Lily had said, and Victoria had held out her hand to take Marcus's, and somehow, impossibly, that moment had led to this one, to belonging, to family, to home. Not the home she'd planned, something better, something real, something built not on perfection but on showing up, on trying, on choosing each other every single day. The lights outside flickered once, then steadied, glowing in the dark.